Let's bring in Ron Jaworski, the former Eagles quarterback. He was in the booth last night, Monday Night Football, between the Seahawks and Eagles alongside Kevin Harlan. How's the arm? When's the last time you threw like a really hard 20-yard pass, Jaws?
Probably about 5 years ago. I haven't thrown a meaningful pass in about 30 years, but I could probably play arena football in that short field.
All right, explain to me what the headline should be after the Eagles loss last night, or the Seattle Seahawks win over the Eagles. What should the headline be?
It depends what city you're in. In Philadelphia, the headlines are not pretty. The fan base, as you know, in this town is a very passionate town. They are very, very upset. Yesterday, there was a lot of chatter in the city of Philadelphia about who the quarterback was going to be. Jeffrey Lurie was chiming in. Howie Roseman seemed to be chiming in. Doug Peterson deflecting the questions. When you're a struggling football team and you have a struggling quarterback, it's hard. It is really hard. I've been through it personally. Now Carson Wentz has to work his way through it somehow, some way. He has too much talent to be playing like he's playing right now.
I was wondering, though, Jaws, do you sit him down and just let him kind of absorb it from a different perspective, as opposed to just going back out there and it feels like you get into bad habits or your confidence level starts to be depleted? And I know Jalen Hurts isn't ready for this, but I got to think long-term about Carson Wentz. How do you preserve him in a situation like this?
Yeah, as you know, Dan, I look at every game on the coach's tape and evaluate that position about as much as anybody. And this has been a really difficult one to figure out. What is wrong with Carson Wentz? Is it mechanical? Is it cerebral? Is it mental? Is it the offensive line? Is it the wide receivers? Is it the play calling? Is it the analytics? I really can't put my finger on it. It's kind of puzzling to me because Carson Wentz has enormous talent. He's got a rocket arm. He could run. He's powerful. He's big. He's strong. If I would boil it down, I would say he's not seeing the field with clarity. He made some throws yesterday that were kind of head scratchers as well, and it's been that way all season long. He has not played through 11 games a solid game at quarterback. And in the National Football League, this is obviously a quarterback-driven game. Your quarterback must play to a high level to win football games. Now, I'm not going to blame it all on him. I don't like Jalen Hurts coming in for 1 or 2 snaps a game. I went through that back in the day with Randall Cunningham, where I would come out on 3rd and 7 or more, and Randall would come in. And it just breaks down the whole consistency of playing the quarterback position, I think, for the team as well as the individual. But, hey, the Eagles have chosen to go that way. Why, I don't know. But I thought we would see more Jalen Hurts after the Eagles went 0 for 5 on their first 3 possessions, 3 and outs.
Yeah, I did too. I just thought, either put him in or don't put him in. Like, you sort of put him in, then you take him out. And as you know, it's all about rhythm. You get that rhythm going. Offense gets the rhythm. You get confidence there, but they don't have any of that. Would you start Jalen Hurts?
There's a reason Jalen Hurts is not starting. He's not good enough. Not that he won't be someday, but with this pandemic that we're all dealing with right now, COVID-19, there was no offseason. Those are important. There was no training camp. That's important. There were no preseason games to develop a young quarterback. That's important. I think it would be a disservice to Jalen Hurts to put him out there. The number one goal of the head coach and the team is to win. You want to put the best players on the field that give you the best chance to win. Apparently, from the coaching staff and Doug Peterson, Jalen Hurts is not ready to step in. You could damage a young quarterback for his whole career. And I always think of a guy that always comes to my mind, Patrick Ramsey, who I thought had enormous talent with the Washington football team now. But he got beat up so bad, they were losing, and he never recovered from that. So this is a football team right now in Philly that's in a transition phase. This is not a team that's going to compete, for the playoffs or a Super Bowl for a number of years right now. This team needs to be retooled. Now, the question then now is you have to ask Doug Peterson, who are you going to retool with? Ask Howie Roseman. Ask Jeffrey Lurie. Who are you going to retool with? Who's your quarterback going to be? Who is the guy you're going to hang your hat on for this next 3 to 5 years?
Who's more likely to be back next year, the coach or the quarterback?
They'll both be back. I just think it's so unfair to evaluate coaches, front office people, the Matt Patricias, the Bill O'Briens, the Dan Quinns. These guys got fired. I mean, and football is a game of creatures of habit. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. And that's been the farthest thing from this season. So these coaches are being held accountable for things that are out of their control. How would you like to be Vic Fangio on Sunday? and running out a football team where your quarterback hasn't played in 2 years and it was in college, and you expect to beat the New Orleans Saints. That's not fair to coaches. That's not fair to a football team. And I heard you talking earlier. This is not fair the way the season is playing out.
We're talking to Ron Jaworski, the former Eagles quarterback working for Westwood One, and was on the broadcast call with Kevin Harlan last night. What did you think of Seattle?
I think they're a good football team that has a chance to be a really good football team. Russell Wilson is such a catalyst for them offensively. And Jamal Adams, I'm telling you, I opened the telecast with, if you're watching this game, and when Carson Wentz breaks from the huddle, he should locate number 33. That's the guy that really is going to dictate the tempo of the game. He blitzes about 24% of the time. He's going to be the catalyst for that football team. When you think of, Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and the Legion of Doom in Seattle, Jamal Adams brings that to this football team. And Carlos Dunlap, a midseason acquisition, has given them that edge rusher that they need. So they're getting better. But how about DK Metcalf? This guy he's unbelievable. And I still don't understand Darius Slay shadowing him every single play. Jim Schwartz, please mix it up a little bit. I mean, you know what you got. He's getting beat for 177 yards. Go to some zone. Go to some double teams. Do something a little bit different. It didn't seem they did.
I'm going to play this for you because DK Metcalf after the game talked about Jim Schwartz comparing him to Calvin Johnson. I want you to hear it, and then I want you to translate here for us, Jaws. Here's DK Metcalf.
What's your mindset going into a game when you know or when you feel like you're going to see a lot of opposing teams' number one cornerback? What's your mindset going into it?
I'm happy. I'm getting a little respect, but, I still got work to do. One of the defensive coaches came up to me, and it kind of made me mad that he was like, I was in Detroit with Megatron, but you're not there yet. In my mind, I'm not trying to be Megatron. I'm trying to be me. So, had a little chip on my shoulder the whole game.
Was that Jim Schwartz?
Yes, sir.
All right. Interpret this. What was Jim Schwartz trying to compliment DK Metcalf?
Yes, I believe so. I don't think he was over there to be antagonistic to him. I think he has great respect for him. And certainly Megatron was a great player, and Jim Schwartz was in Detroit when he was there, so he's very familiar with them. And they are both elite athletes. Megatron was, and certainly DK Metcalf. And Dan, you've been around this game long enough. You know what goes on pregame. These coaches are out there with their business cards in their pocket because a lot of them are going to get fired. And they're renewing old acquaintances with other teams. And he probably ran into DK and probably said, I don't see it as inflammatory. I don't see Jim as that kind of guy. He can be quirky occasionally, but he's never been that kind of guy. He's usually very sociable before the game.
I thought it was a compliment because DK Metcalf is not Calvin Johnson. He reminds me a little bit more of T.O. than Calvin Johnson, but it's still a compliment when I say, hey, but you're on your way. Yeah. He's only been in the league a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, if someone came up to me pregame and said, hey, Jaws, you look like Joe Namath, I'd be like really happy. I go, wow, that's a real compliment,
Yeah, but if they came, they said you look like him. You didn't play like him, but you just look like him.
Yeah, I get it.
Did you cross paths with Namath?
Oh, yeah. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, a suburb called Lackawanna, and I was a Buffalo Bills season ticket holder. And those are the old AFL days, the Bills and the Jets at that time. And, I went to a game, and in those days you could literally walk right on the field or about 5 yards from the field. And Joe Namath was warming up in the end zone. And I remember seeing old number 12 there just spinning it. I'm going there. I could do that. So it kind of gave me some motivation to want to work hard at my craft.
But also, Namath threw an effortless ball. And he had those real small shoulder pads, but yep. He threw a beautiful deep ball. I don't know what the difference is. Like, what is that, Jaws, where Warren Moon threw maybe the best deep ball I've ever seen. Jeff George threw a great deep ball, but what is it about that ability?
Dan, throw this guy in there. Jeff Blake, I thought for a number of years, the Bengals one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. And some guys, Russell Wilson right now throws that high arcing rainbow that drops down the chimney, right into receiver's hands. So it's getting on those deep balls. You got to get the nose up and a good trajectory on the football. And some guys just have that art, and usually power throwers. And quite honestly, that's what I was as a player. And I see a lot of guys Power throwers have a tougher time with that deep, high arcing throw because they're so used to firing these, bullets in there to between linebackers and safeties and secondary players. So it's harder to develop that deep, high arcing throw.
Well, speaking of the deep ball, Tom Brady and that offense in Tampa Bay, are they running the right offense for Brady's skill set?
Yes, I'm bewildered by some of the comments that I hear from other people. And again, I base a lot of my feeling on this screen that I have right back there, and I watch all the the coaching tape on that screen. And Tom Brady is still playing at a very high level. It's going to take some time to assimilate into this offense, and it's a different style of offense. But Tom Brady eventually will get this, and they're going to be a force to reckon with. There's a lot of talent right now on that Buccaneer offense. It's going to come together for him.
But why is there this disconnect? Or it feels like there's a little bit of tension there with Arians. And are we creating this, Jaws?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Dan. I think
Okay.
I really think I think the media just looking for something to talk about. You got Tom Brady. I think everyone thought they were going to go 16-0 because you acquired the greatest of all time, the GOAT, and all these weapons. Football is the consummate team game. The timing and rhythm of an offense has to be precise and exquisite. It is not right now. But this receiving core down in Tampa is very, very good. They can run the football. I think their offensive line has to pick their play up somewhat because Tom needs protection. He's a plant, step, and throw guy. He's not going to be mobile and slide and move around the pocket. So he needs help from his offensive line. And it's the defense, by the way, Todd Bowles done a really good job with his defense. I think eventually they get a bye this week. They're going to start coming together. There's way too much talent.
Okay, we were just ripping Jim Schwartz for his defense on DK Metcalf. What the hell was Todd Bowles and the Buccaneers thinking? Single coverage on Tyreek Hill.
I wish I could answer that. I have no idea. I mean, he only had 207 yards in the first quarter.
He was on pace for 1,000-yard receiving game, Jaws. 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I agree. I think two of those coverages were blown coverages, by the way. But hey, you still, and look at the dimes that Mahomes threw though. He there was a couple wide open and a couple great throws. But that's what you get with Patrick Mahomes. That's what you get with Tyreek Hill. That's what you get with Jason Kelsey. I mean, there is that's a wealth of talent on that Chiefs offense. They're going to do that to a lot of people.
Always great to talk to you, Jaws. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. You're the best.
Thank you, buddy. That's Ron Jaworski, former Eagles quarterback, and I worked with Jaws at the mothership for a long time. He was on the call last night with the great Kevin Harlan in the Monday Night booth.